Hello, this is Mary Jo Tinlin from Teaching Your Toddler, and today our very special guest is the money couple, Taylor and Megan Kovar. Taylor is a wealth advisor as well as an investor and an entrepreneur, and he and his wife, Megan, are the money couple. They live in Lufkin, Texas, where they are raising 3 children, and they advise couples on financial issues as well as how to communicate about finances, which we all know is a very difficult thing in a marriage or a partnership where you have to talk about money. They also educate children about money. So today we are going to talk to them about how to start that conversation about money with your spouse, as well as how to teach your kids about money at whatever age they're at. So please welcome the money couple, Taylor and Megan Kovar. Hello, this is Mary Jo Tinlin from Teaching Your Toddler, and today we are welcoming Taylor and Megan Kovar, the money couple. I'm so excited to have you all on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Excellent. Well, first, can we just sort of jump in and have you all tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started as the money couple?
Yeah, so this is Taylor. I own an investment firm here in Texas. And I realized a few years ago that as I was creating financial plans for couples, that we were still running into issues because they were thinking differently about money, right? So for example, in our marriage, Megan is very much a saver and I'm a spender, and I like to spend that money, whereas she would love to see it in the bank account.
Yes.
And we realized that while we were creating these financial plans, that our clients were having the same struggles. And so started digging around online and stumbled across the money couple. So it was actually founded and started by another financial advisor couple named Scott and Bethany Palmer, which are great people. And so we started building a relationship with them, learning some of the tools and resources that they had available. And then they approached us last year and said, hey, we're looking to transition out and doing some other stuff. We think you guys would be the perfect fit. And so we were excited to take on the brand. And we've worked really tirelessly over the last year or so to update those resources and expand them and have new things coming out. And so that's how we got involved as the money couple.
Oh, perfect. And how long have you been married?
We've been married for 14 years here in a couple of weeks.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Excellent. Well, great. So thank you for talking about how you got started there. So you said you were seeing these clients were having sort of similar issues. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so what we found out was, it didn't matter how great of a plan we had created or a budget that we had created for somebody. If you didn't really agree with it, somebody was always not happy, right? So either they weren't saving enough, right? Well, we would find out a year later, hey, like I really wish we were saving more money, or somebody will say, hey, I want to be riskier with the money that we do have, or I would like to have some money to put into the latest meme stock, right? Or Dogecoin or whatever else, maybe the hot topic investment at the time. And so that really led us down this road to say, hey, there has to be more than this. There's not just a one-size-fits-all budget. There's not a one-size-fits-all way to do financial planning. And that really opened our eyes to, hey, there's more to this. And we all have kind of this money personality and money relationship. And that's when we dove kind of headfirst into, hey, let's figure this out. We knew that Megan and I thought differently about money, and we kind of worked through most of it ourselves. But after coming across kind of the 5 money personalities and everything that the previous money couple had offered, we're like, hey, this is actually really good stuff. And so it really taught us and opened our eyes to how people think about money. And so then we could actually create a better financial plan that satisfied everybody and had them happy with their investments.
Oh, that's awesome. Now I understand. I think I saw on your website we have 2 different personalities. Is that true?
Yeah, we do. So we've identified 5 different money personalities, and we talk a lot about everybody having a primary and a secondary. And so you have a percentage of all 5, right? We all do, but primarily you have a primary and a secondary money personality that kind of drive everything that you decide to do with money.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes some of those personalities might seem opposite. Like you could be a primary saver, but then a secondary spender. So we like to say that that primary personality is the personality that is with you like 85%, but that secondary personality sometimes comes out. We call it the backseat driver. Like it's back there and you might see it 15% of the time, but that's just your secondary personality that kind of comes out in times of stress sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Times of stress. Okay. So if you have two inside you and then you have your spouse who also has two, how does that all work?
Not easily. So depending on what it is. No, and that's what we talk. We have a thing we call the opposite dynamic, which really kind of outlines how many opposite dynamics are in your relationship. So we kind of split the money personalities in these two different groups, and so both of my money personalities fall into one group. Both of Megan's fall into another group, but both of our money personalities are different. So both of mine are different than hers. And so we have these opposite dynamics, and we just have to be prepared for them and be ready for them. And we have a little graph there on our website that kind of talks more about it. But obviously, the more opposite dynamics you have in your relationship, the more likely or chance that you'll experience financial infidelity. Because obviously, if I'm competing within myself on how I want to handle money, and so is Megan, and then us together, we're competing on how we want to think about money. It gives ground and opportunity there for us to either hide money decisions or make them without our spouse entirely.
That's how you're defining the infidelity, is hidden money spending or making without consulting.
Basically, yeah. I mean, there's other ways. A lot of it comes down to what we see most often is hidden. So they have a hidden credit card, a hidden bank account. This is my little mad money stash that they don't know about. This is the debt that they don't know about. And that's what we see a lot with financial infidelity, is primarily hidden money.
Ooh, okay, that's a heavy word, right? I mean, but that makes complete sense because you're not being honest with each other, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So the $1 million question, I think, would be, how in the world do couples who are either getting started or maybe they've been married for a long time, they're having trouble? I know on your website it says 70% of divorces are caused because of financial issues. How do couples get started even talking about it?
So I think that the first step is actually knowing your money personality. That's why the quizzes that we have on our website and all of the resources that we have are just so important. The first step is knowing your money personality, because as soon as you figure that out and you kind of read your definition, your eyes are opened not only to the way that you see money, but to the way that your spouse sees money.
Yeah, and so that's really where we like to start. So if we at least have an idea of where we fall, so we can kind of know internally how we process and think about money. It opens the door to have those conversations of saying, hey, I realize this is kind of the way I think about money and why I think about money. And I think, so this is what we see all the time in our planning practices. One person in the relationship will go take the assessment, and it kind of opens their eyes and like, hey, I really want to know what yours is, right? I can guess, and I think this is what it is, but I'd like to know. And then read some of those resources that allow us to communicate better. And that's really kind of that very first step, is knowing who you are. We have a saying that we use a lot. You can't manage what you can't measure. And so if you can't manage your money, you can't manage your financial conversations if you don't know where you're at to begin with.
I love that. You can't manage what you can't measure. That is so true, because you don't know what you don't know. And that's kind of the way to say it, right?
Yeah, we live by it, or I do. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you take the survey, that kind of gets it started. Then you talk to your spouse about it. And then what? When you find out, like you all did, you found out you're kind of opposites. Then what?
Yeah, so what we usually tell people, hey, you take the survey, take the assessment, read through some of the preliminary information, and then really just sit down and talk with your spouse about what that really means for you guys. Everybody is in a different stage of life, so we work with right from newlyweds who grew up dirt poor to ones who are call us silver spooners, right? And we all bring our own different money habits and different money thoughts into the relationship. And so we tell people, hey, you're married, like you got to have those big boy, big girl conversations sometimes. And so we tell people, hey, figure it out, go on a date night, get somewhere quiet where you guys can just talk and really just kind of have a conversation. You don't have to open every little door that night, but go out and just discuss your money personality. It's a great way to kind of breach the topic of money, which can be sensitive in a lot of relationships, without being overbearing, without without creating conflict. It's just a unique way to kind of begin opening that door to discussing your money.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really important to get separated, right? Separate from your kids and everything else so that you can just focus specifically on the conversation, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it was so often, we have kids and, and there's a toddler podcast, right? We have a toddler. We were doing right before this started.
Yes.
And so, they cause distractions. But when you're really wanting to get started down this road of, hey, we want to get on the same page with our money and with our finances, you really kind of got to clear those distractions out. And so, we really believe, we're big firm believers in date night. And so, taking the assessment right before you go on date night and kind of reading through some of that over date night is just a really good way to begin opening the conversation.
I think it's important too. What you said is that you don't have to solve all the problems on the first conversation, right? It's really just get started, and then maybe you say, let's talk again in whatever, a week, a month, or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, exactly right. So, and that's where we see a lot of money fights happen because people want to do it all right then. So they're like, hey, we know we have this money issue. If we're going to talk about it, let's just get it all out on the table and get it done. And really, there's just so much to how we think about money, and then how we've managed money in the past that is going to affect the way that we handle it going forward. So, we tell people, hey, just take one step at a time, one conversation at a time. That first one should be a pretty fun and lighthearted conversation because you're learning more about yourself, and then we can dig deeper into the actual money habits and where we've gone wrong in the past, or the hidden debt or hidden credit card, or other just accounts at another time.
Yeah, I think that exactly what you were saying about the fights, people get, and then they get, I know I get defensive and I get stressed out, and then your date night's ruined, right? So I like that you say,
Right.
start lighthearted, start while you're having fun, while you're not stressed out. And then I also know I'm a processor. I need to think of things. I can't think of things on my feet. So talking through things, and then my brain sort of works on it a little bit, and then we talk again, right?
Yes, and we always say go into the conversation with an open mind, because the money personality, the way that you view money, you always think that you're viewing it the correct way. What you do with money, you always feel like that's the right thing to do. So a lot of people go into relationships feeling like they're the one who knows how to handle all of the money and their spouse doesn't. So that's where knowing your money personality really comes into play, because you see why your spouse and why yourself use money the way that you do, the way that you handle money.
Yeah, and there's not a right money personality and a wrong one. There's not
No.
like, hey, this one's better to have than the other ones. They're different, just like all of us are. So.
Absolutely. I think that's really interesting about, I would say that would be the cause of these divorces, is if you believe you're right and you're digging in and you're saying, I don't care, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, gosh, where do you go from there, right?
Right.
So tell me a little bit about how I watched the video, your introduction video on the Money Couple website, and I will absolutely leave the link in the show notes for the listeners. I watched the video, and you mentioned your faith. How does your faith sort of weave into money for you?
For us, it's kind of the center of everything that we do. I'm a big believer. I was a youth pastor for several years, and we taught, a large group of teenagers. And one of the sermons I preached back then was, don't put God first, put him in the middle, right? So if you put him first and your faith first and everything that you do, that means there's a second and a third and a fourth. Whereas if it's the middle of everything that you do, everything's going to revolve around it. And so that's really kind of how we view our faith is it's not, faith versus business. It's in the middle of everything that we do. And so especially with our money, we put our money where our mouth is, right? We believe in, because of our faith, we believe in charity, and we believe in giving to others, and it's better to give than to receive, and to be a blessing to others. And so even with our finances, we have accounts that are set up strictly for charity, where when that paycheck comes in, for a small percentage goes immediately into another account. that we only use strictly for helping others, and that one, it helps keeps us humble, helps us to remember there's others that are less fortunate than us, and to live our faith in action.
Oh, well, I like that a lot because then it's kind of just it just goes where it needs to go, right? I mean, do you subscribe to the 10% tithing, or do you just kind of do it what you can do?
No, we do. So we do 10% tithing. For us, I tell people God's the best business partner I could ever imagine. Right? He does most
Ah,
all, only requires 10%. So no, we definitely believe in tithing, and we tithe. That's the first money that comes out of any paycheck that we get. And then we have another account that we actually use just for helping others. Right? So I firmly believe God, all he asked for is 10%, so I want to give him that. But I think we should be going above and beyond. Sacrifice is a good thing. And so for us, we keep an account that strictly is not for tithes, it's for helping others in our community, helping people that we can go help, whether that's a charity or whether that's somebody on the corner. And it's hurtful, right, to see that account get too large, because I realize, hey, we're not doing enough, right? So it's a really good reminder, and those accounts are automatically funded as our paychecks arrive, and so that's just how we believe and how we act. So.
Oh, I like how you divide that between not just your tithing, to the church, but also to the giving for people who need it. I've never heard that. That's really amazing. Now, I don't know how. I know you have a 3-year-old, and clearly you have older ones because you said she's your youngest. How are you sort of teaching your kids about money? Because you mentioned tithing, and giving. Of course, you want to have that spirit of giving and instill that in your kids. How do you do that with your kids?
So we have a 10-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. Then we have a 3-year-old daughter. So with our older kids, well, actually, we have with the money personalities, we actually have a quiz for kids that kind of explains. I'm sorry, I'm going to let Tyler take over this. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let Tyler take it.
Yeah. So with our kids, what we've done, for when we go back to the tithing question, our kids can see us put a check in the offering plate, but that doesn't mean a lot to a kid, right? So that just means, okay, you gave $1, right? Like we give them $1, put in the offering plate. And so it really stands out to them are those experiences. And that's where that other account comes into play, is being able to, go with them and show them, hey, here's how we're helping people, and here's how we want to do this. And it really involves them. And so that brings a lot of that charity side of things to them, or giving. And then we try to make it just a daily part of life. And so when we go to the grocery store, it's, hey, you want Captain Crunch, right? And Captain Crunch is $3.79 a box. Why do you think it's $3.79 a box when you can get more cereal from this bag on the bottom shelf? And it's just getting them to get in the habit of using their brain, right? Logic. This means that. And so we've kind of built that in with them kind of from day one of why is that candy more expensive than that candy? Why is that game more expensive than that game? It's not every single time we go to the store, it's not every single item. But we realize that if we can get them started in that thought process from an early age, it's much more beneficial. So now when we go to Target and our son wants the new thing of Legos, he'll say, hey, can you pull this up and see if you can find it cheaper on Amazon, right, or eBay? He's okay with delayed gratification for a few days in order to save a few dollars. Whereas our daughter, who has a very similar money personality I do, is just ready to spend it. It doesn't matter. It's there. She wants that immediate gratification. But she's learning different lessons as far as, hey, my money only goes so far. I can only spend it one time. And so, we just try to make it a daily part of life of having those conversations.
Well, that's great. I know Megan started to talk about the quiz. So the quiz will help the kids figure out, like you just described, saving or spender.
Yeah, so there is a quiz. We have, just like for the adults, we have a quiz for kids that helps explain what their money personalities are, and they align with the adults, but the questions are much easier to kind of, I say, understand or process. And we have some really fun, cute characters that go with them, and coloring books, coloring pages and stuff. So we have Sophie Spender and Ricky the risk taker, right? And it's just really fun and a way to get them involved. in really opening those conversations about money. We have some courses that we're going to be rolling out specifically for kids as well on how to manage money and how to, what's the, not really saying this is an allowance because not every family does an allowance, but when you have money, this is the best ways to do it, right? The difference in saving versus investing money. And so we have some of those resources that we're rolling out really soon. Yeah.
Oh, that's really great. I'll let you talk about those as we wrap up. I want you to definitely tell people about what you have to offer. But I have two more questions. So you just mentioned allowance. Do you give your kids allowance?
No, we really don't. We're, in real life, I'm an adult. No one just gives me money. No one just comes up to me on the street and just gives me money. The government just send me a check for nothing, right? So, we realize if I don't want them in that mindset from an early age, and so we make them work for whatever money they may want. And so, for an example, just this past week, our son really wanted a Nintendo Switch game. And we told him, hey, it's $60, right? If you come up with half, we'll cover the other half. And so there for several weeks, he was doing extra chores around the house and extra things. Just as being part of our family, we require, hey, you live here, like part of your job of living here is, helping with the dishes and helping with the laundry or whatever that may be. If you want to make extra money, you have to go above and beyond. And so that's really what we're trying to teach them from day one is you got to go above and beyond if you really want the things that you want out of life.
I love what you said about you don't just get paid to exist. I think that is fantastic. And we've always done that too with our kids. Our youngest is 13 and he knows he has the same thing with the Switch, and he knows he needs to mow the lawn. He needs to, clean the cars. He needs to do things, and then he gets the money so that he works for it. I like that a lot. One last thing, you said, I really like this phrase that you said, I can only spend money one time. I think that's really important. Now, how does that go along? That kind of made me think of credit. Tell me about what you all feel, how you feel about credit.
Yeah, we're big entrepreneurs, so we own several. I say big entrepreneurs. We own several businesses. We love the entrepreneurial mindset, right? And that's what we want to teach kids. And so I believe there is a time and place for credit. I think it's definitely overused in our current economy and environment by a lot of people. But credit can be a really good thing. If you're using credit to buy an asset, then it can be a very smart move. And so what we're trying to do when we teach kids about credit is really honing in on what it is, right? So you're using somebody else's money, but you have to pay it back. And so we force hey, you have to have a plan to pay that money back. And so one of our other kids, our 7-year-old recently got a Switch that she bought, and she wanted a game for it, and we said, hey, you don't have the money for it, and she was like, well, okay, will you loan me the money, right? And I was like, hey, you know what, we can loan you the money, we I'm happy to do that, but how do you plan on paying me back for it, right? How do you plan on doing it? And so
she had not thought that far ahead.
She had not.
Oh. But she at least thought of the idea. I mean, that's kind of interesting,
Yeah. After a few days, she came back and was like, all right, so here's the deal, right? I'll do this, this, and this every day for the next, 2 weeks or whatever it was. And she realized, hey, this isn't just a free ride. It's not just, you got this money and you don't have to pay it back. You owe somebody, and your name is on the line. And that's what we're big on. It's better to have a good name than silver and gold, right? You don't want to mess up your name. And so we told her, hey, you want to make sure that you keep a good name and by paying back whatever money you do borrow.
I like that a lot. I love that she thought of that, but I love that you all then came up with a plan so that she really has that investment and that, I mean, it's really like sweat equity into it, right? She knows that she owed you. That's an amazing lesson for her and for all the kids to see that.
Yeah, it's hard being a parent. I know everybody tells you it's the hardest job in the world, and I didn't believe it till I became one. But it is. It's really hard, and you're constantly second guessing yourself. And so, we kind of believe that if you're being intentional, if you're trying, you're doing better than most. And so that's what we really encourage most. We teach in Newlywed classes, really just try. right? So if you want a better job, or if you want to get a promotion at your job, you're going to try. You're going to work harder. You're going to study. You're going to go to college, get an education. That's how we want to treat life. We want to treat each other. We want to treat our kids is hey, we want to listen to podcasts where people give resources and advice. We want to listen to audiobooks. We want to read books. We want to go to conferences. We want to do whatever we can to try to be the best parents that we can be. And a lot of that's really just trying. So. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Now, you just mentioned your resources. I know on your website you have amazing resources. Tell us, before we let you go, tell us a little bit more about what you have to offer people so that they can help get started for themselves and then also for their kids.
Yeah, so we definitely, we've mentioned already on here, we do have a 5 money personalities assessment on our website. We have a kids money personality assessment on our website. We also have a financial infidelity assessment. It's about 20 questions. It's really kind of easy, just kind of gives you, kind of tells you where you are, right? So do you have a lot of financial infidelity? Do you have some? Do you have none? And then resources to go off of that. So if you have a lot of financial infidelity in your marriage, here's some resources to get you through that. And we've partnered with a family marriage therapist to help create those resources. So they're all clinically backed as well. And when we combine a lot of the information that we get from our clients and people that we deal with, you have a lot of resources there as far as assessments. We have several books that we've created and rolling out. We have several ebooks. And we're rolling out a couple of courses. I've mentioned we have a kids course coming out here in just the next few months. Where it'll actually come via email or to your door, right? So if you want to, the kids I always love getting mail as a kid. So we can actually mail it to your home and walk through a kids course. And then we have one for couples as well to say, hey, let's figure out your money personality and let's get you on those first few steps. But we're constantly releasing new resources on our website and on our social media accounts. And so we'd love to connect with you and any of your listeners.
Excellent. Perfect. Well, again, I will put all the links in the show notes so people can find you on social media or at the website or all those things so that they can get started, because I think you say even on your website that you're trying to prevent divorce due to money problems, right?
Correct. Yeah. If we can reduce that, and hopefully we can build happy, healthy, striving marriages.
Oh, that's perfect. Anything else before I let you go? Any other words of wisdom or things that you think the audience should know?
Not off the top of my head, but I appreciate being here, and
absolutely
we get
enjoyed
to
it.
have another conversation one day.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, again, Taylor and Megan, thank you so much for joining Teaching Your Toddler today, and I know this is going to be very helpful for people.
Thank you.
Have a great day. This has been the Teaching Your Toddler podcast with Mary Jo Tinlin. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you'll find us on our website at www.teachingyourtoddler.com, as well as on Facebook at Teaching Your Toddler, on Instagram, and on Twitter at Teaching Toddler. So join us again, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you so much.